This thing looks like it's being held up by rope of some sort. There is the offbeat possibility that maybe the craft that holds everything up is invisible.
Have you ever wondered if we are alone in the universe? For decades, the possibility of extraterrestrial life has been a topic of speculation and debate. But what if the truth is even stranger than we could have imagined? What if scientists have finally discovered evidence of UFOs and the Pentagon is trying to keep it from us? Join us as we take a look at the latest evidence that suggests that UFOs are real and that the government may be hiding something from us. Imagine looking up at the sky and spotting something weird and unexplainable. That's a UFO. These unidentified flying objects have puzzled people for a long time. After World War II, when rockets were invented, more UFO sightings caught people's attention. Some folks even thought they could be aliens from faraway planets visiting us. People from all over the world have reported seeing strange things in the sky. Some saw bright lights moving super fast. Others spotted odd-shaped objects floating above. Even though many of these sightings were investigated, some still remain a mystery, which makes UFOs even more fascinating. The idea of aliens visiting our planet has sparked lots of exciting stories in books and movies. Can you imagine creatures from outer space zooming around in cool spaceships? Does that sound thrilling? While some UFO sightings are hard to explain, they are not to be seen as a mere fiction. We'll start with the Shag Harbor incident. The Shag Harbor incident is a famous UFO case that occurred on October 4, 1967, in the small fishing village of Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia, Canada. On that night, several witnesses reported seeing strange lights in the sky and an object descending towards the water. Eyewitnesses, including local residents, police officers, and pilots, observed the unidentified flying object moving erratically in the night sky. The object emitted a bright light and appeared to be controlled, suggesting that it was not a natural phenomenon like a meteor. As the object descended, it made a loud noise and created a bright flash when it crashed into the waters of Shag Harbor. Fearing that an aircraft might have crashed, concerned citizens and authorities initiated a search and rescue operation. They believed that a plane might be in distress and needed immediate assistance. Despite extensive efforts to locate the crashed object, no wreckage or debris was found on the water's surface or along the shoreline. The absence of any evidence added to the mystery surrounding the incident. Given the seriousness of the situation and the possibility that it could involve a downed aircraft from another country, government agencies such as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Canadian military were involved in the investigation. Their goal was to identify the object and determine whether it posed any threat. The investigation into the Shag Harbor incident remained inconclusive. Officials could not determine the origin or nature of the object that crashed into the waters. The case was classified as an unknown, indicating that it remained unsolved and had no conventional explanation. Over the years, the Shag Harbor incident has become an important part of UFO lore, garnering attention from UFO enthusiasts and researchers worldwide. Many consider it one of the most compelling UFO cases in Canada due to the multiple credible witnesses and the lack of a definitive explanation. Despite extensive research and inquiries, the true identity and origin of the object that crashed into Shag Harbor have not been definitively determined. The incident continues to capture the imagination of people interested in the mysteries of UFOs and remains an intriguing unsolved case in the annals of UFO sightings. If the Shag Harbor incident doesn't freak you out, then wait till you see this next one, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident. This incident is also referred to as the Rendlesham Forest incident. It took place over several nights in December 1980 in Suffolk, England. The incident involved multiple sightings of unidentified flying objects by personnel from the U.S. Air Force bases at Royal Air Force Lakenheath and Royal Air Force Bentwaters. It all began on the night of December 26, 1980, when the U.S. Air Force security personnel at RAF Woodbridge, part of the larger Bentwaters base complex, reported seeing strange lights in the nearby Rendlesham Forest. They initially suspected it might be an aircraft in distress and decided to investigate the source of the lights. Upon reaching the forest, the security personnel were astonished to encounter a metallic, triangular-shaped object with blinking lights. The object was hovering silently above the ground and demonstrated movements that defied the capabilities of known aircraft at the time. Impressions on the ground suggested that the object had briefly landed. The following night, December 27, 1980, additional witnesses, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, reported further UFO activity in the same area. Colonel Halt made an audio recording as he and his team observed the strange lights and movements of the unidentified object. The witnesses described the UFO as maneuvering with incredible agility and exhibiting bursts of bright light. At times, the object appeared to emit beams of light into the surrounding area. The sighting was also corroborated by radar operators at RAF Watton, who reported anomalous radar returns during the same time frame. The U.S. Air Force conducted an initial investigation into the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident. They attributed the sightings to a combination of misinterpretations of natural phenomena, such as bright stars and the light from the nearby Orford Ness Lighthouse, and the activities of a nearby civilian aircraft. However, many witnesses and researchers found this explanation unsatisfactory. The witnesses, including military personnel with extensive training, remained convinced that they had encountered something extraordinary and unlike any known aircraft or natural occurrence. Over the years, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident gained significant attention within the UFO community and the public at large. The incident has been the subject of numerous investigations and debates, with various theories proposed to explain the sightings. Some theories suggest that the UFO sightings may have been caused by secret military aircraft or experimental technology being tested in the area. Others, including many UFO enthusiasts, entertain the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement, believing that the sightings could be evidence of alien visitation. To this day, the Lakenheath Bentwaters incident remains a mystery. The encounter, one of the most well-known and intriguing UFO cases in history, still fascinates scientists, skeptics, and UFO enthusiasts alike. Don't get too excited, this is just the beginning. Now let's look at the UFO incident, which is often referred to as the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. In September 1961, Betty and Barney Hill, an ordinary American couple from New Hampshire, experienced a chilling encounter that would forever change their lives. While driving back to the United States after a memorable vacation in Canada, they spotted a bright, strange flying object in the night sky. Intrigued and somewhat anxious, they watched as the strange object seemed to follow their car, growing closer with each passing moment. Feeling uneasy, Betty and Barney eventually decided to pull over to get a better look at the hovering object. As they stared at the disc-shaped object with multiple lights, their unease turned into fear. Sensing danger, they hurriedly got back into their car and sped away from the eerie scene. But their ordeal didn't end there. As they drove, they experienced something inexplicable, a period of missing time. It was as if 2 hours of their journey had vanished from their memory. Confused and frightened, the couple couldn't recall what had happened during that mysterious gap. Days after the incident, Betty and Barney began experiencing vivid and haunting dreams of their encounter. Disturbed by these recurring nightmares, they sought answers and decided to undergo hypnosis to recover their lost memories. Under hypnosis, the Hills recounted a shocking and unsettling tale. They described being taken aboard the UFO, where they were subjected to medical examinations by beings they believed to be non-human. The vivid details of their alleged abduction were both terrifying and surreal. Their story, known as the Betty and Barney Hill abduction, quickly gained widespread attention. The Hills case sparked intense debate and scrutiny. Skeptics questioned the validity of their claims, attributing the experience to a combination of stress, imagination, and perhaps even a late-night encounter with a commercial aircraft. However, believers argued that the Hills' accounts were genuine, pointing to the consistency and emotional intensity of their recollections. Regardless of one's stance on the matter, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction remains an enduring and compelling part of UFO folklore. Their story not only heightened interest in UFOs and alien encounters, but also spurred further research into the phenomenon of missing time and abduction experiences. Decades later, the Hills' legacy endures, and their case continues to be discussed, analyzed, and revisited. Another evidence of extraterrestrial life presence on our planet hidden by the Pentagon is that of the Mount Rainier incident. This incident took place on June 24, 1947, near Mount Rainier in Washington State, USA. It's quite a significant event in UFO history, It all began when private pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying his small plane over the Cascade Mountains. As he gazed out of his cockpit window, he couldn't believe his eyes. He spotted 9 shiny, crescent-shaped objects flying together in a V formation at extraordinary speeds. These mysterious objects zipped through the sky with incredible agility and speed, leaving Kenneth Arnold stunned and baffled. Kenneth had estimated the UFO's velocity to be over 1,200 miles per hour, which was far beyond anything that conventional aircraft of that era could achieve. In describing their appearance, Arnold compared the objects to saucers skipping on water. This comparison gave birth to the term flying saucers that later became synonymous with UFO sightings as we call it today. News of Arnold's extraordinary encounter spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of the media and the public alike. That same year, the Mount Rainier incident triggered a wave of similar reports from people across the United States, igniting what was soon nicknamed the Summer of Saucers. Now there is another UFO sighting that took place in Broadhaven. In the small village of Broadhaven in Pembrokeshire, Wales, something extraordinary occurred in February 1977. A group of school children at Broadhaven Primary School were enjoying their lunch break when they spotted a bizarre sight in the sky. What they described sent chills down their spines. A silver, cigar-shaped object with a domed top appeared to be landing in a field nearby. Imagine being a curious child and witnessing a flying saucer right before your eyes. The children were mesmerized and eager to share their incredible encounter with their headmaster, Ralph Llewellyn. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Multiple children claimed to have seen this mysterious object. But this was just the beginning of an astonishing series of events that would captivate the entire village and beyond. To add to the intrigue, the headmaster separated these children into different classrooms and made each of them draw what they saw. All these children drew pictures of the peculiar object they had seen. The pictures had a remarkable resemblance to classic flying saucers with legs. The consistency of what these children said with the pictures they drew left people scratching their heads. In fact, to this day, this incident has left us with more questions than answers. Some of the unanswered questions remain. What exactly happened in Broadhaven in 1977? Did these children really encounter something beyond our understanding? Don't worry about these questions because you will have more to think of when you hear about the next UFO sightings. Evidence of UFO sightings won't be complete without mentioning the Westall incident. So, what happened in Westall? On a seemingly ordinary day in April 1966, the skies above Westall High School, located in a suburb of Melbourne, Australia, hosted an otherworldly spectacle which forever left a mark on the memories of those who witnessed it. As the clock struck mid-morning on April 6th of the same year, students and teachers alike looked up to the heavens to catch a glimpse of a peculiar sight. What they saw was a shining, silvery object soaring low over the school. It was like nothing they had ever seen before, a flying saucer right before their eyes. The UFO appeared to hover briefly in the sky before gracefully descending to land in a nearby paddock. Fear alongside excitement filled the air as the schoolyard transformed into a buzzing hive of curious onlookers. Everyone wanted to catch a glimpse of these extraterrestrial beings that had come unannounced. Witnesses were stunned by the object's sleek metallic appearance and shape. Some even marveled at its ability to move with uncanny speed and agility, seemingly defying the laws of physics. The atmosphere was charged with wonder and intrigue as the UFO sat there in the paddock, a spectacle beyond anyone's wildest dreams. But like a fleeting dream, the UFO soon decided to take its leave. In a remarkable display of power and grace, it lifted off the ground and shot upwards into the sky at an astonishing speed. The onlookers were left in awe, their minds racing to comprehend the extraordinary sight they had just witnessed. The Westall incident did not go unnoticed. It caught the attention of the media and the authorities. However, as the dust settled, the official explanation for the UFO sighting left many witnesses unsatisfied. The authorities attributed the sightings to natural phenomena or dismissed them as misidentifications. But those who were there knew they had experienced an extraordinary event. Scientists have also found something out of the ordinary in Lubbock. Picture a warm summer night in August 1951 in Lubbock, Texas. The evening was calm, and a group of Texas Tech University professors were relaxing on a porch, enjoying the night sky. But little did they know that they were about to witness something that would leave them utterly bewildered. As they gazed up at the stars, their attention was suddenly drawn to a group of strange lights, glowing with an eerie bluish hue. The lights were moving in a tight V formation, zooming across the sky at an incredible speed. The professors couldn't believe their eyes. What on earth could these lights be? These curious professors decided to alert their students to this bizarre spectacle. So a group of Texas Tech students gathered outside, and to their astonishment, they too witnessed the enigmatic lights. This time, there were more of them, and they seemed even larger, measuring between 200 to 400 feet in length. The lights glided silently through the night sky, leaving the witnesses in awe and wonder. The strange flight patterns and the sheer number of lights were unlike anything they had ever seen before. They knew this was no ordinary occurrence. Something extraordinary was happening above them. The Lubbock Lights sightings quickly became the talk of the town, and people were buzzing with excitement and speculation. What were these lights? Were they some kind of secret military aircraft, or perhaps visitors from another world? The incident attracted the attention of the U.S. Air Force, which launched an investigation as part of Project Blue Book, an initiative to study UFO reports. When the official explanation came, the Air Force attributed the sightings to plover birds with their white breasts reflecting city lights. However, this explanation failed to convince these professors and their students. After all, how could birds flying in formation at night account for the strange flight patterns and the immense size of the lights they witnessed? The mystery of the Lubbock Lights remained unsolved, leaving people hungry for answers. Over the years, the Lubbock Lights have become one of the most fascinating cases in UFO history. Despite the passing of time, the memories of that remarkable summer night in 1951 linger on. We have even gotten more interesting evidence of UFO sightings on our list. The United States government established the Secret Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, in the Pentagon in 2007. The program's goal was to compile and analyze data on UFO sightings reported to the Defense Department, DoD, by service members over the years. Luis Elizondo, who had managed military operations for 20 years, joined the endeavor in 2008. He was chosen to head the program in 2010 and honed its emphasis on national security. He received reports of UAP sightings and investigated them thoroughly. One obscure report about a bizarre tic-tac-shaped object above the Pacific Ocean, made by 2 retired U.S. military personnel, drew his attention: Navy aviators. The Nimitz Carrier Strike Group was conducting training exercises with Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich. Radar from a ship that was a member of the training group had discovered multiple anomalous aerial vehicles on the horizon that were falling 24,380 meters, 80,000 feet, in less than a second. With a weapons system officer in the back seat of each aircraft, Fravor and Dietrich were dispatched to investigate in separate planes. As they got closer, they could make out a churning pool of water roughly the size of a Boeing 737. The tic-tac-shaped object was hovering above it, according to Dietrich, and it was making no predictable movement, no predictable trajectory. There were no logos, wings, or smoke trails on the mysterious craft. Fravor came in for a closer look, but the thing took off at such a high speed that it vanished before his eyes. Radar picked it up a few seconds later from a distance of about 96 kilometers, 60 miles. That's only the beginning of the story. Many additional sightings were reported by Navy aviators, who saw bizarre cubes or triangles do maneuvers no aircraft had ever before been able to, such as stopping suddenly, turning on a dime, and speeding up to 11,000 miles per hour, 17,700 kph, or more. And they were doing all this in restricted airspace, including areas set aside for training fighter jets, such as the waters off the coast of San Diego, Virginia, and Florida's Jacksonville. For decades, researchers have observed a common pattern among the UAP they have been studying: power to defy gravity, rapid and unexpected speeding up, hypersonic speeds with no audible sonic booms or discernible propulsion systems, either reduced visibility or cloaking, and transmedium travel, which is the crossing between different mediums, such as air and water, without encountering any resistance or drag. These traits are the most puzzling to experts in national security. We don't have anything that works like that in our arsenal. Who or what might they be? Some pilots have theorized that the objects were either enemy spy planes or classified U.S. technology. According to Elizondo, however, it would be the most remarkable intelligence failure in United States history if a foreign foe had created these technologies 75 years ago and we were still unaware they possessed them. Does that imply they came from another planet? Elizondo urges us to keep an open mind and not make hasty judgments. These automobiles could have come from deep space, the asteroids, or anywhere in between. It's possible that we're dealing with a highly developed AI that can replicate itself and instantly communicate with its own copies across great distances utilizing a quantum network. Perhaps our planet is home to an intelligent undersea civilization, and we are now technologically able to observe its members as they travel across our oceans, airways, and upper atmosphere. Do UAPs endanger the security of the country? Although they're clearly powerful enough to do harm if that were their intention, Elizondo argues, there has been no overt antagonism or hostile activity on the part of these things. He warns that sophisticated vehicles should be treated with suspicion if they are spotted flying freely in limited airspace because they may pose a threat if they so choose. Elizondo argues that a whole-of-government approach that is collaborative and transparent is necessary to properly interpret and share observational data with the public. Does the United States government still monitor UAPs? Elizondo remained looking into UAP sightings after funding for AATIP ran out in 2012, but he gave up in 2017 after growing weary of the Pentagon's skepticism. But before he left, he declassified 3 Navy UAP films, and after that, he began to spread the news. The declassified tapes were supplied with the New York Times by Christopher Mellon, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, who is now a civilian. To convince the Defense Department to treat this national security issue seriously, he said that he had to take this action. The public outcry resulted in Congress taking notice and the Pentagon finally admitting that AATIP existed. The program was then revived by the Pentagon under the new moniker UAP Task Force. The military has authorized its personnel to report UAP sightings. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who was then leader of the Intelligence Committee, requested a declassified report on UAP sightings from the Department of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence by June 2021. The remaining opposition to transparency, according to Elizondo, is limited to a very small cadre of people whose hold over the secret is rapidly eroding. Fortunately, both Congress and the DoD are prepared to treat this issue seriously. It's become a liability for the Pentagon to further a cover-up of these facts because there is enough outrage from our service members and the general public, and we must take that seriously. What is going to be reported? In order to deliver a thorough report, it will be necessary to sift through copious amounts of information, including but not limited to data, videos, photographs, telemetry, signatures collected, and an entire electromagnetic spectrum analysis. The National Archives and Records Administration houses numerous collections of documents related to UFOs or flying discs, which have been extensively researched and analyzed over the years in search of any additional evidence of extraterrestrial life. Records from the United States Air Force, USAF, that have been retired and declassified are included in the Project Blue Book papers held by the National Archives. The United States Air Force conducted these studies between 1947 and 1969. 12,618 sightings in total were recorded to Project Blue Book during this time, according to a U.S. Air Force fact sheet. The project, which had its headquarters at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, was officially terminated in 1969, with 701 of those remaining unidentified. Can UFOs be proven through these records? Other records have surfaced throughout time as records at the National Archives have been handled and cataloged. Michael Rhodes, an archival worker, was sorting through hundreds of boxes of Air Force records just a few years ago when he noticed a doodle in the corner of a test flight report page. The drawing drew his eye because of its uncanny resemblance to the flying saucers in popular science fiction films produced at the time. Rhodes claimed in the National Archives Pieces of History blog post, "Flying Saucers, Popular Mechanics, and the National Archives" on July 8, 2013. The crew of Japan Airlines Flight 1628 sighted a UFO while flying over Alaska, according to a number of data from the Federal Aviation Administration that are available online at the National Archives. simulated radar images, and a report on the incident that ran in the Philadelphia Inquirer magazine on May 24, 1987, are both available in the National Archives. The online catalog for this collection's records includes notes taken during interviews with the 3 crew members who saw the UFO. According to Marie Brindo-Voss, a metadata technician at the National Archives in Seattle, Washington, the papers were found as part of the Alaskan digitization effort. The Army's inquiry into flying discs is covered in a film of Major General John A. Samford's statement on flying saucers from the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. on July 31, 1952, which is among the audio-visual UFO records held by the National Archives. What proof of the existence of aliens and UFOs might be discovered at the National Archives when additional records are searched, processed, and declassified? That will have to wait. But judging by the past, it's obvious that researchers and UFO enthusiasts will keep looking for new data. The tremendous interest in the presence of extraterrestrial life and UFOs continues to spark intense debate throughout the world. Is there a link between the rare element 115 and extraterrestrial raft? The 115th element is somewhat of a mystery. It wasn't officially recognized as a chemical element until 2016. But for decades, it has been the subject of speculation about its possible links to alien technology and civilizations. Intrigued? Let's first determine what element 115 actually is before attempting to determine whether there is a relationship. As with all elements on the periodic table, the element's number corresponds to the number of protons in the element's atom. Element 115, or moscovium, is a man-made, super-heavy element with 115 protons in its nucleus, which is 23 more protons than the heaviest element you can find in large quantities on Earth, uranium. The rare element 115, which is created one atom at a time in particle accelerators, is only present for a very brief period of time before decaying into another element. It is special because it is close to a predicted island of stability where some super-heavy nuclei might have much longer lifetimes. Instead of existing for less than a second, they might exist for minutes, days, or even years. That is long enough that we might be able to use them for practical applications. How was it created? A team of researchers led by nuclear physicist Yuri Oganessian discovered element 115 in 2003 at the Flerov Laboratory for Nuclear Reactions in Dubna, Russia. The element was then given the name moscovium because Dubna is a Moscow city. To successfully fuse the nuclei of 243 Am and 48 K atoms, the scientists bombarded americium 243 Am with calcium 48 K ions that had been accelerated to about 10% of the speed of light. This process resulted in 4 atoms of moscovium, which is a super-heavy element that requires the complete fusion of 2 lighter elements. It took years for scientists to figure out some of the intricacies concerning moscovium, and it wasn't until 2018 that Berkeley Lab researchers determined the element's mass or atomic weight, which is the sum of all the protons and neutrons in an atom. They produced about 1 atom of moscovium per day, and that atom was captured by an instrument called Fiona for the identification of nuclide A, which to the untrained eye looks like a small metal bank vault. So far, moscovium hasn't been used for anything other than scientific research, but they were able to nail down this crucial number by repeating the process that the first discoverers used to pin down the element. What is the aliens' connection with element 115? Although element 115 wasn't formally identified until 2003, its name has been associated with extraterrestrials, flying saucers, and other paranormal topics for decades. We're talking about the long-lived tale of Robert "Bob" Scott Lazar, who in 1989 revealed what he claimed to be top-secret information about element 115. Lazar claimed to be a former employee at Area 51, the well-known and highly classified section of the Nevada Test and Training Range operated by the United States Air Force, where his job was to reverse engineer crashed alien flying saucers. An element that heavy cannot be created here on Earth. The chemical must originate from a region where naturally occurring super-heavy elements are possible, according to Lazar. 9 alien spacecraft allegedly used some sort of propulsion system that harnessed the inherent power of gravity and thus utilized the characteristics of element 115 to work their technological wizardry, according to Lazar, who claim to have seen evidence of anti-gravity propulsion technologies. The majority of his assertions have never been completely refuted, as several sources have noted, and the government doesn't acknowledge the employment of anyone who has worked at Area 51. Fundamental science continues to refute his statements, nonetheless. No, the assertions of Bob Lazar have nothing to do with this discovery, stated Gates. Presently, all the created atoms of element 115 have decayed way too fast to be used to fuel UFOs. For the people who are immersed in these advancements on a daily basis, that's more than enough. After all, moscovium is an amazing element. Gates said that it is a sign that we're pushing the limits of what we know about the universe. So instead of the excitement about little green men and incredible spacecraft, we're left with real, tangible, and equally thrilling science. We have made over 100 atoms of element 115 and are starting to understand its nuclear and chemical properties because element 115 is unique in that we can create it more easily than some lighter elements like element 112 or element 113. Normally, as we add more protons, it gets harder to create a new element, but this trend is broken around element 115. However, 115 is suspected to have mostly rapid decay isotopes, just as the gold has 37 different isotopes and only one is stable. Therefore, hopefully, in the future, we will on a version with a longer half-life, even if it only ends up being a few atoms of it. Alternatively, the aliens may simply prefer to observe life in a closed system, or they may have ethical reasons for not interfering in our technological and cultural progress, similar to the Prime Directive from Star Trek. A more sinister interpretation can be found in Ball's laboratory hypothesis. The aliens don't talk to us because we're part of an experiment they're conducting. In the end, it is impossible to predict the objectives and convictions of a fictitious advanced civilization. Thanks for watching another episode of Voyager. While you're still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more mind-blowing videos about space.